Hey everybody, it's Rod with VanGuns coming back at you with another video. Today, I want to talk a little bit about my grandpa's old single six convertible. So yeah, my grandfather bought this in the 1960s, and this is a Ruger single six. They still make it. This one's called the Convertible. And it's called the Convertible because it has an interchangeable cylinder that allows you to shoot either 22 long rifle or 22 Magnum. And currently it has the 22 Magnum cylinder inside the gun. This is a really, really fun gun. 22 Magnum is not super powerful. It's maybe got about the same amount of energy as a 380. But what's cool about this gun is it's a single action revolver, and it's kind of sort of cowboy gun style. Not specifically cowboy gun, but very similar. Just for the record, this guy is, we are clear. The cylinder does not tip out on this gun like it does on most double action revolvers. You load your rounds one at a time by rotating the cylinder with it in half cock position. So we're completely clear on this gun. Again, single action. This gun, like right now, the hammer is up. I can't pull the trigger, okay? I cannot fire this gun until I cock it all the way back like that, okay? So in the old movies where you had the cowboys kind of going kind of like that, that was kind of single action. I don't do that with this gun. That's not my thing. I just like the idea of going out with an inexpensive, when you put the 22 long rifle in here, that's the cheapest round you can shoot. You can go out and plank with this gun, have a lot of fun. It's pretty darn accurate, 5.5 inch barrel on this. When you shoot the 22 Magnums, it's, you know, big old flame comes out the front, makes it look way more impressive than it really is. But it's just a fun gun to shoot. And I'm going to show you here in a minute how you take the cylinder apart and, you know, how to load it and that sort of stuff. But this one, my grandfather put these kind of cool, you know, they're just plastic grips, but they kind of look like ivory carved or bone carved grips. And they're kind of cool. I still have the original Ruger grips as well. I've got both cylinders. The coolest thing, though, for me about this gun is just listening to it. Now, listen. I mean, that's got that old, it's because it's got that center position where you're half cocked, there's like an extra click in there when you bring the gun back. And it gives it that kind of like you hear in cowboy western movies, right? It just sounds cool. And also, when you decock the gun, it has that kind of ratcheting click sound. Very similar if you've ever watched westerns and somebody has their gun cocked and then, okay, they come to a peaceful arrangement and he decocks the gun. They used old single action that had that ratcheting click sound that I just think is really, really cool. So let's get right into, loading this gun. It's a little different than normal double action revolvers like Smith & Wesson or Ruger Redhawks, and disassembly of the cylinder and all of that. Okay, here we have the Ruger. I'm kind of doing this in reverse here, just the way I had to position the camera. Here's the single six. This is the standard 22 cylinder here. Got a couple of 22 cartridges here. I don't have any 22 Magnum cartridges. I've got them somewhere. The 22s were easy to get to, so got to show you how to change the cylinder out anyway. So we'll start with that. Couple things. For those of you that are familiar with 357 Magnum and 38 Special, in that you can put a 38 Special cartridge into a 357 Magnum pistol, and that's fine. The length of the 357 Magnum cartridge makes it so it physically will not go into a 38 Special revolver. So you can't accidentally put the powerful Magnum in the weaker 38 Special gun, but you can go the other way and that's perfectly fine. That is not the case with 22 long rifle and 22 Magnum. Now, 22 shorts And they used to have one called 22 long that I don't even think is around anymore. And then 22 long rifle. Those were all just slightly longer cases, slightly more power. And you could put a short inside a 22 long rifle a pistol. So, for example, you could shoot 22 shorts with this 22 long rifle cylinder here. Or if you had, don't even think 22 longs are around anymore. And maybe not even 22 shorts. However, the 22 Winchester Magnum is a completely different cartridge. It's skinny and it looks like just a longer cartridge, but it is a different case. It physically will not seat inside this cylinder, so you're not going to accidentally put a 22 mag in here, but you could accidentally load a 22 long rifle into this 22 Magnum cylinder, and it could be a real problem. Like, it could be catastrophic. So you want to make sure you have the right cylinder in the pistol before you start loading it. Okay, so this is 22 long rifle. This is the 22 long rifle cylinder. I'm going to go ahead and take this cylinder out. The way you do that, and bear with me while I try to do this upside down from the camera's perspective, this is the release button right here. And so what you have to do is half cock the gun. Okay, and you got to pull out this little guy as if you were going to load it. You've got a release button right here. And so we're going to release that. And that lets me pull this pin out. All right, and you can't see me doing that. I'm pulling this pin out right there. All right, whoops, there we go. Just came out right there. And the cylinder will now just fall right out the bottom there. All right, so here's the cylinder. This is the Magnum cylinder. If you look at these two cylinders, you will notice, and I'll try to zoom the camera in on that the 22 Magnum base here is a little fatter. It is possible to slip that 22 in there, but I don't recommend it. The cartridge is a little loose in there, and that could really cause a problem. So just make sure you have the right cylinder in there. That's the Magnum cylinder. So we're going to load up the actual proper 22 long rifle cylinder. We're just going to go in reverse order. Slip it in underneath right through here. So there we go. I've got it in. I'm just holding it up with my finger here. It seats in there. We take the rod and we shove that back in there. Okay, and got to push that button in to let it get past. And you got to make sure the cylinder's lined up. I'm fiddling with it, I know, because there we go. Again, trying to keep it on the camera for you. Then it'll just lock in place. Now the pin won't come out. Okay, and we can sort of test it by rotating the gun along. We can see that it rotates like it's supposed to. It's in there. So now we've got the proper cylinder in. So now we load it. How do we load this gun? Well, you've got this bit right here. And you half cock it. And you'll see if I can get the camera there. The round just goes in that little hole there. You then rotate the cylinder to the next slot. And it goes like that. And then you close that. And the cylinder's free because I'm in the half cock mode. Now, I have a loaded gun here. So I'm not going to pull that hammer back. I'm just going to show you how do we eject. Either I want to unload the gun and it's got live ammo in it, or I've spent all my casings and I want to reload it. You're going to have to get those out of there, okay? And so we're going to rotate. There's that live round. And then here is the rod right at the end here. And I'm going to shove that back and out comes the round. You can see how I'm doing that here. Just shoving it out. Then I got to rotate to the next one. Okay, so now you see the next round is there. Here's the rod. I just shove that back. Does have to be lined up. And I'm shoving that back and you'll see the case come out. All right, so I did all of that half-cocked. So there was no way the trigger could be pulled in this half-cocked position. So that was a safe way to unload the gun. Obviously, for pure safety, you want to point the gun away from you. I kind of had the gun sort of pointed at me just, again, to get the angle for you to see. It wasn't actually pointed at me, it's pointed slightly away. But you always want your gun pointed away from you or any other living thing. And just always practice gun safety, even in the most, benign of moments. It's just a good habit to get into. But that's kind of how you load and unload the gun. It's not like a double action where you just pop the cylinder out and just turn it upside down like this, and all your empty cases kind of slide out. It's a little more tedious, and just goes to show you how as far as police work and self-defense and all of that, the double action revolver was a huge improvement over the single action. You could shoot it much faster. It was easier to load and unload. Even before the advent of speed loaders, it was much quicker than loading one of these old single action guns. I think the Schofield was a gun where it broke in the middle like a shotgun, so you could get your shells in there a little quicker, but it was still single action. It wasn't as fast. You couldn't just pull the trigger, bang, bang, bang. You had to actually cock it each time. And that's kind of how this one works, and it's what I kind of like about it. So there you have it, the Ruger Single 6. It's a fun gun. They still make this gun today. They also make a gun called the Wrangler, which I believe is a little less expensive. Similar concept, single action in smaller calibers like this. And if you can find one of these, either an old one like this or a new one, keep in mind that some of the really old ones from the 50s and 60s were called 2-screw, and then they made a 3-screw kit to update those. I've been told that unconverted 2-screws sometimes are worth collector money. I would prefer to have it, updated in that regard. Okay, so anyway, that's all I got today. Thanks for watching VanGuns. As always, please hit that subscribe button and give us a like, and we'll keep putting out as much content as we can.